Welcome back to 360 Sports. Today we're talking March Madness and we have a great show for you all. I'm Izzy Mackey alongside Aiden Flory, Aaron Wilder, and Chase Brosen. To get it started, let's go into some headlines. The Sweet 16 of March Madness is now set with not a lot of shockers making the cut. Social media is kind of divided with the fact that there are only 4 conferences that are represented in the Sweet 16. What are your guys' thoughts on this? And is it a good thing for college basketball or?
I mean, obviously in March we want to see a little bit more upsets. We want to see more diversity. This year we don't even have any Big East teams in it. Like you mentioned, only 4 conferences being represented, but it's not just basketball that's suffering from this. It's mainly due to the NIL, but we saw this in college football. The Big Ten dominated the college football bracket, and this year it was SEC who have, I think, 7 teams remaining, and then the Big Ten has about 4 teams remaining in the bracket. So it's SEC and Big Ten dominated again. And it's not college basketball fault as much as it is the NIL's fault. And we're going to see it, but I do think it's going to make for better Sweet 16 Elite 8 matchups.
Yeah, I do think it'll make for better matchups. You have the more willpower in the schools. You have more talent. But if you want me to be completely honest about all of this conference realignment, it's not great. I don't think this is good for college basketball specifically because you have so many teams that are able to have that representation in the tournament. And if you only see the Power Four teams doing well, then obviously the talent's going to want to go to Power Four. Having mega conferences could effectively kill those smaller conferences, and that's not a great thing because we love to have the smaller conferences in different college sports. Of course, college basketball, college football, even conferences in hockey, for example. But obviously, that's different. So I kind of wish we have some more regulation going forward, especially regarding NIL and conference realignment, because the way that things are going right now, it's looking like it's going to be Big Ten and SEC all the way. Even I would go as far to say that the ACC and Big 12 are also in danger because of these mega conferences.
Yeah, and I think Duke is the only team from the ACC that's still in it. And obviously they're a big school, but SEC usually dominates college basketball. We've seen that for the past couple decades now. We don't have any of the schools like Louisville or Creighton in it. They're in the Big East. But anyway, we don't see the representation from those conferences. And I'm just a little bit disappointed in how it all shaped up. It kind of feels like the Wild West with the NIL, I think, just like we saw in college football. I'm pretty sure the transfer portal already opens today. So I think that's crazy to me. The Arkansas coach was talking about it, how he already has to worry about getting new players and still winning his next game in the tournament.
I think the transfer portal has done a lot to make the gap even bigger for all these teams, considering Broome from Auburn is from Morehead State. He spent 2 years there. Lanier is from North Florida. Martin from Florida is from FAU. LJ Cryer from Houston played at Baylor for a couple years, and all of Kentucky's from the transfer portal, which makes sense considering they got a new coach. But the transfer portal is what's making this, I feel like, such a big gap, considering all the teams that usually are making these bigger upsets just don't have as good of players because they're all transferring out.
Yeah, I think another kind of concern that there could be with the realignment of the conferences is that teams I don't know if you guys saw this, but Wisconsin, they had back-to-back games, and then they had their game on Thursday, and they had the shortest kind of break, and it kind of I think it kind of messed them up for the rest of the tournament. So I think with football, it's kind of different when you only have a game on Saturday, and it's okay, if we're traveling all the way to a different side of the country, it's okay, it's fine, I guess. But when you're playing basketball games and you kind of have a 1-day break, but you're going from let's say you're Penn State and you're playing here, but then you have to go travel to UCLA. That's a big. I feel that's also trying kind of affecting it, but also I don't know if people are overreacting a little bit because I feel what makes a Cinderella run so special is that it's not supposed to happen. So I think this year it's kind of just okay, nothing. It's kind of just a down year. But we did have, we had a lot
15
of,
seeds being 2 seeds for the past 2 years, so we can't complain that much.
And I think that some people I did see Stephen A. Smith. He said college basketball is going to be dead if this keeps happening. But I think it's a little bit of an overreaction because I think we can kind of see what happens next year. And if this does continue, if it becomes a pattern, then I think it becomes an issue. But I think right now it's okay, NIL is but then. I don't know, because there are players who are don't care about the money. You can see Ashton Genty. He stayed with his team. I
Boise
forget
State.
Boise State.
Boise State.
He stayed with them, so I think it's like if a team really wants to make it, I think they can, and I think that's why basketball is so fun, is because upsets are so much easier to happen.
Definitely.
So moving from that, we did have a few upsets with McNeese. They did take
Yeah.
down Clemson, and Arkansas took down St. John's, along with a walk-off buzzer beater in Maryland versus Colorado State. What was your guys' favorite moment from the tournament so far?
All right, I'll go first. I'm going to say Derek Queen's buzzer beater for Maryland. I'm a big Maryland sports fan, not for the Maryland Terps, but big Baltimore Ravens fan and Orioles fan. So it was nice seeing a kid from Baltimore hit the game-winning shot. But this was just the best game of the weekend. I think for most viewers, it was instant classic. There were 15 lead changes throughout the whole game. Colorado State hit a go-ahead 3 with 3.6 seconds on the clock, I believe. I thought it was over, especially that Maryland all year they've been getting buzzer beater after buzzer beater hit on them, especially in the Big Ten tournament when they lost to Michigan. It was nice to finally see them roll their way and see the freshmen shine in such a big moment.
Yeah, I heard that was also a controversial buzzer beater as
was.
well. Aren't they like debating if it was a travel or
Yeah,
not?
so it was the gather step. It was a bit sketchy. It might have been a travel. It was 3 steps, but the first step, the ball, he was still collecting it. I don't know. I
So
don't.
that's where the debate comes
I
in.
It
feel like you
depends.
kind of have to let
Yeah.
them play.
Like
I
if
don't
they
know.
called
Let
that
them
travel,
play.
it wouldn't
Let
be
those
forgiven.
boys play.
I know.
I gotta admit, I think my favorite part of the tourney so far, despite kind of breaking my bracket a little bit, has got to be Arkansas's run because they are a 10 seed, right? Obviously, they play in the SEC. Obviously, they are a really good basketball team, but they are hot and they are dangerous to any team that they are playing, and that is more clear since they took down St. John's just a couple days ago. But I think my favorite moment of the tournament so far has to be Drake beating Missouri by 10 points, by 4 possessions. That's a really strong case for proving why your team should be in the tourney. And so I really, I got to give props to those boys at Drake because they did a really good job getting the job done against Missouri.
Yeah, definitely.
My favorite part was also Arkansas's run so far. They beat Kansas in a close game, which was a great game. Like everyone was excited to watch that game. They also beat number 2 St. John's, obviously, and obviously St. John's had an amazing year for being Pitino's second year there. I also think that it's interesting that Calipari is making it farther this year than he had with Kentucky for the past 3 years. They lost last year in the first round to Oakland, which was a great game to watch again when rooting against Kentucky. They also lost to Kansas State 2 years ago in the round of 32, and they lost the first round to St. Peter's 3 years ago. So they've not had a great run, Kentucky, but Calipari is getting better and doing some good with Arkansas.
Yeah, I think Kentucky, they're kind of, I know I had them losing the second round. I was like, let me write them off. I also had Clemson. My sister had Clemson going to the Final Four.
I had them in
So
the Elite Eight.
I did not expect that to happen. I was just like, McNeese, I don't even know who that is. I was like, okay.
But I gotta say, I mean, McNeese really shocked us
Yeah.
against that game with Clemson. That was the main bracket breaker of
Right.
this
I
past
think that's
of
what
these
messed
past couple of days was
everybody up.
McNeese beating Clemson.
And I think St. John's too.
Oh, obviously
for
St.
St.
John's.
John's.
I think those
Brooklyn.
two were the biggest ones that kind of like mess everything up. My
Mhm.
friend actually had them losing. St. John's losing to
Really?
them.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like can you buy
That's
like
surprising.
2
You know
lottery
what?
tickets,
Good-
one
Yeah,
for me and one for
literally.
her?
they must know ball. I don't know.
I know.
I mean, they had such a great year too, and I know the SEC has been really good. All that's been the main storyline, but Arkansas, I didn't think they had any chance matching up against St. John's. And
No,
St. John's
yeah.
just they didn't look like they did all season. They didn't look like they did during the Big East tournament. They didn't look good at all, and they didn't deserve to win that.
It
game.
only takes one game.
It's
Yeah.
only,
It
it's
only
pro-
takes
was
one game.
Probably one of those things where they came in too confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. They
That
overlooked
You
it.
can never be too confident.
For
Not
sure.
in March.
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
All right. So as we prepare for the next slate of games, I want to hear what is the X factor for any team in this week's for in the Sweet 16 down to the Elite 8, and if they could take them farther. We'll start with you, Chase. I mean, no. Sorry, we're gonna start with Aiden. Sorry,
Gotcha. Okay.
sorry.
Happens. We're all good. So my X Factor pick for this is going to be a player from Purdue, Trey Kaufman-Wren, the Purdue Boilermaker. Shout out to my mom, who is a Purdue alumni. And Trey Kaufman is a 6'9" junior, and he has done a phenomenal job filling the void that Zach Edey helped place when he graduated just last year. He's averaging about 20 points per game, and in the last 5 games alone, he's at least scored 21. So my advice for Purdue in this upcoming game, just let Trey do his thing. Give him the ball, let him ball out, because that is going to be your best shot at winning against a very, very strong Houston team. I think Purdue is a very historically great team. I mean, obviously, but you can never quite count out the Boilermakers. And I wouldn't be shocked if Purdue actually did go ahead and beat Houston in this upcoming game.
When I was making my bracket, I counted out a lot of good teams, I fear, but I did count out Purdue. And I was like, they don't have Zach Edey. Like, they don't, I'm like, Penn State beat them. I was
Yeah.
like,
I think I had them losing first round to High Point.
yeah, no, I did
losing
too.
second round.
I was like, High
Really?
Point's going to
Yeah.
upset them. I'm like, this is, and I was like,
Because
all right.
they lose to like they lose to like 15 seeds.
Well,
like,
they
a lot.
had that part
that
one
slump,
year,
yeah.
but they
With
always
can't
seem
trust
to
them.
have
Peters.
a moment where they do bounce back, and
Yeah.
I really respect that about Purdue specifically.
Yeah.
We'll see how they do against Houston, but I do have Houston in my Final Four, so
Mhm.
hopefully
Yeah.
not good. All right,
Yeah.
Chase.
All right. So I went with a pretty conventional pick, but I don't really care because I picked Derek Queen. We all know he hit the buzzer beater versus Colorado State, and not just Derek Queen, but the rest of the Maryland starting 5. They're going to need to show up against Florida on Thursday if they want to win. Florida, in my opinion, is the best team remaining in the bracket, and I think it's going to take a lot of power to take them down. Derek Queen, a true freshman, showed that against Colorado State in the round before. The Maryland starting 5 is without a doubt one of the best starting 5s in the nation. However, they don't have a lot of depth, and that is why they were in a higher seed. That's why they didn't win the Big Ten. They're very thin after it gets their starting 5. So if their starting 5 can come out and make a big impact early, force bad shots, and then take good shots on their end, I think they have a good chance of beating Florida. But it's going to take a lot, and it's going to take a lot from this guy right here.
I think the fact that him being a freshman and having a buzzer beater to like help his school move on, like that's just like so awesome.
It's
for him.
storybook.
Yeah.
I mean, it
I don't
really
care.
is.
Like that's kind of why it's like if it was a travel or not, but it's kind of like don't just let it
Don't
be.
take it
It's a
away
big
from him. At
moment
this
for
point, you
him.
can't take
Like,
it away from
There
him.
haven't
man.
been moments like that yet, so
Yeah.
just
But that Maryland
put it
Florida
under the
game is,
rug.
I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to be the
I
best
think it'll be a good
I
game
think
too.
I think that's like a good thing with like there not being too many Cinderella stories because I think
Mhm.
we're gonna have really good games like Maryland
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Florida. It's gonna be good, and Purdue and Houston. I think
For sure.
that'll
Mhm.
show it. Aaron,
Okay, my pick was Jordan Gainey from Tennessee. He has not done much in the games they've played against UK. Chaz Lanier is the Tennessee's best player for sure, but he does not step up in their games against UK. Kentucky is an amazing team. They're full of transfers. They're full of talent. They have so much experience. And Jordan Gainey is what Tennessee needs to get on fire to be able to get over UK. Gainey only had 6 and 8 points against UK when they played them during the season. They lost both times, and Chaz Lanier scored 15 and 10 in the games against UK. No one was really stepping up. Obviously, they have a lot of other good players, and but Jordan Gainey is the one that needs to scrap together a ton of points to be able to get over the hump of UK.
I mean, just saying it, another great game coming up. So we really do have a strong slate of games coming up for this Sweet 16, and I'm getting pretty excited for it. I can't lie.
I'm excited to see Kentucky versus Tennessee.
Yeah,
They're
that'll
like
be
close
really
to each
good.
other in states, too,
Oh, yeah.
right? So that's kind of like border, kind of
Yeah.
like.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll go next. My X factor will have to be Lamont Butler. He's a senior at Kentucky. He's their point guard, and he actually just transferred here. To Kentucky from SDSU. And I don't know if you guys remember, but he did have that buzzer beater winner against FAU in the tournament. And I feel that like even though he's coming back from an injury, he really showed himself in the last game with Kentucky and really helped them win and have a dominant win over their past. He really helped them win. But anyways, I think hearing his coach talk about him, I really think that he could be the next X factor for them. And I think he can take them far, maybe even beating Tennessee, maybe getting into that Final Four. And I think it's kind of been this past trend with Kentucky is that they get out the first or second round and they don't make it that far, but they have a new coach, they have him. And I really think that this Kentucky team, along with him, could make it far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you guys mentioned earlier, Kentucky's like basically all transfers, new coach. I didn't think that they'd make it that far just because they don't really have that team chemistry just yet. The guys that they're on the roster haven't been playing together for years, like some of the other teams, but they've really impressed me. And if they can beat Tennessee, I can see them going to the Final Four. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
100%.
think I don't know what I was gonna say. Okay. Anyways, so we had our full bracket picks, but I'm sure that we all got messed up a little bit. So now let's do a revision of our Final Four picks. So what are your guys' Final Four picks?
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is not the Final Four that I had in my original brackets, but after watching some games this weekend, I've come up with a revamped list. So I'm going to have Michigan State coming out of region, the respected region. I don't trust Auburn or Michigan, and Tom Izzo, he's been there for years and years. He knows what to do. I think Michigan State can make it to the Final Four and possibly to the championship, but they're going to have to go through Maryland. I think Maryland's going to beat Florida this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and say it. If they don't beat Florida, Florida's going to take it all. Next, Duke. Duke obviously they've been the best team all season. Everyone has Duke in their championship. It's hard to count them out, and they have a pretty easy path. They just have to beat Alabama, I believe. And then I originally didn't have them. I even said I have them losing first round, but I think Purdue's going to come out of the last region. I want to pull for the Big Ten, and I don't really trust any of the other teams in that region right now. I think they could be Kentucky or Tennessee, and 3 Big Ten teams in the Final Four. It feels good coming from the Big Ten school.
Yeah, I think as a Big Ten school, that being Penn State, us as Penn State students always want to root for the Big Ten just because it's like that kind of conference being together. But I will never root for Ohio State or Michigan. That being said, so my Final Four, I got Duke. It's Duke. I mean, Cooper Flagg has been unbelievable. That whole team has been unbelievable.
For sure.
I think they're going to the Final Four, and I don't think it's going to be too much of a contest, knock on wood. But my next team is going to be Michigan State. Michigan State has proved that they can play very, very well and play at a high level. Obviously, you said that guy's been there for quite some time. He knows what to do. My last two are going to be Tennessee and Florida. And I think both are just simply stronger teams than the teams that they will be playing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, I don't think it's going to be easy. It is not going to be light work for them to get through these teams. Every team that they're going to play from now on is going to have some punch to them. So they're going to have to, shape up and get ready to, take a bit of a hit. So if they can get through that, then I think they'll make it into the Final Four.
Yeah, and I was actually really impressed with Florida this past weekend. I know they had a close game with UConn, but that's not an easy second round game. Most of these 1 seeds are playing not cupcake games, but relatively easy games. But UConn, they're back-to-back champions. It's not an easy game to win.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to lose going into the second half, but they pulled it out, and they showed up when they needed a win. They showed up when they needed it most, and I'm really impressed with the Florida team I see.
I would never call UConn a gimme. Not in this modern age, especially being back-to-back champions. Hate to say it, it's kind of comparable to the Kansas City Chiefs. No matter how bad they are in a year, you can't just ever count them out.
You
Yeah, I
have a
agree.
coach that's he has a lot of history, and he knows how to coach in
Yeah.
this, and he knows how teams are during this tournament. And I think that's proven when he got back-to-back championships. And for a team who's like, we can win again and go back to back to back, it's like that's not a team you want to go against.
For
So
sure.
Nope.
I think Florida beating them, I think that really shows that they're gonna go.
It
far.
does. For my picks, they're all pretty boring. I wasn't happy about it, but I have Duke. Obviously, Tyrese Proctor stepped up big in their last game. That he had 25 against Baylor. Flagg, obviously, amazing player. Knipple, he had 12 against Baylor. He underperformed, but they still beat Baylor because they're such an amazing team. Like even if one of them is off, they're still gonna be amazing and work together and be a great team together. I also have Auburn. I think that they're insanely good. Janai Broom, he's just unstoppable. He had only 8 points in their last game, but against Creighton. But Pettiford had 23, which really made up for it. They are similar to Duke. I feel like their depth is so great. I have Tennessee next because Chaz Lanier is amazing. Zakai Ziegler, their whole roster, I think is great. But I do think that they are not one of the strongest in the 4. So I think that if any of them, that they would not be in there. But I also do have a lot of faith in Tennessee. And then next I have Florida because they're on a 15-game winning streak. They're on fire. Clayton Jr. has been really consistent. He's had 29, 23, and 23 in the last couple of games. And their offensive rebounding can really get them far. That's what really won them the UConn game. So I think they're a really strong team.
I think that UConn game was one of my favorites just because it was two really good teams to
Mhm.
watch play. But I'm interested because you keep hyping up Florida, but you have Florida beat. I mean, you have Maryland. You
Yeah,
have
I
them
do.
winning.
I know it was hard. I originally had Florida winning, but there's just something about the Maryland team I really like. It's mostly picked on vibes. I do think Florida's the better team. They have better rebounders. They have better a whole roster, but the Maryland starting five is it's kind of a whole vibe. I kind of just want to rock with them to the Final Four. I don't think they're going to win the whole thing.
But
I don't even know if they're
yeah.
going to beat Florida, but if they do, I'm going to look like a genius.
Yeah, three teams in the Big Ten. That's a little
Yeah.
bit of some
The-
bias
yeah.
there, but it's okay. I think it's okay. My Final Four, I actually don't have any Big Ten teams,
Okay.
and I actually have two SEC teams, which is not like me because I hate the SEC. But I do have Duke because it's like you just can't bet against them. You can't bet
Yeah.
against Cooper Flag. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the only team that I think had as much as a dominating win as they had over a team like Baylor. Like it's not like a random like 16 seed team. Like they are not.
For sure.
They weren't that bad. So I think their win over Baylor, it's kind of showing like, yeah, I don't want to play against them.
Yeah, you did not
And
want to mess
then
with them.
Houston, I don't know. It's just like, okay. I didn't know. I didn't know.
It's like, all right, they're the one
I
seed. You know,
can't-
we'll let
do
this
that,
one
yeah.
go.
Yeah. Auburn, I feel like their whole team is like full of like 25-year-olds. So I feel like it's
That's
like
true.
if some of them are gonna play against college students, like actual college students, it's like they're gonna win because it's just people who are like not good enough to go to the NBA, but they're really good still. And in Florida, again, I don't see Florida losing to Maryland. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I had Maryland losing the first round, so I clearly did not see much of Maryland. But I think Florida's just I think they have good vibes too. I've
Yeah.
seen videos of
Yeah,
their
no,
hype
they
room.
do,
I think they have
yeah.
good vibes, and I think people at Florida, this school of Florida, like their football team sucks. Like they need something. So that's what I have. My Final Four, it's literally all the one seed, so it's kind of like just like if ChatGPT made it, but
Yeah.
I made
I
it.
mean, you'll get at least two or three right. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting
Usually,
all my money on Duke. If
yeah.
I had
Oh,
to put, if I could gamble, I would put if I had money to gamble, I would put it on Duke. But
I'm sorry, you threw so much shade at every team you were talking about.
That's
I
It
know.
just started making me laugh. You were talking about how Auburn's team is so old, and then you were saying, "Oh, Florida's got a super bad football team." You just kept throwing
I know,
shade
I
left
kind
and
of-
right. No, I love
that's
it.
kind of
It's
my
great.
thing. I kind of give a compliment and then like an upper
Yeah.
punch right after. But now we're kind of gonna go see what our bracket selectors at 360 did, and they did not have the best day in the office last week. So we're gonna take a look at how they did. So let's see this video.
Big upset. I got Yale too.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I like
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, they could definitely win this matchup. Iowa State, they're hurt right now. Give me Lipscomb.
Yes.
I think it's Lipscomb. I'm gonna take them.
I made 28.
Clemson's really underseeded here. I think they should be a 4 seed, but
I need a sweep for a 13 against 4.
Mark Sears is better.
I'm also picking High Point.
Okay.
I think this is what High Point wanted. Their best matchup for a 13
I like
seed and a 4. And Purdue has not been consistent this year.
I'm gonna take you.
I gotta go with the Zags. I gotta go with the Zags. Gotta go with the
Zags.
Zags.
Wait, who'd you pick?
Gonzaga.
3-1.
Oh, we got 3-1 Zags, baby.
Gotta go with the Zags, baby. You got big upset. I got you.
So what did you guys think about their picks? We can flame them at a reasonable level, but maybe not the way that I just flamed all my Final Four teams. But also, I think they had a lot of success. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I think you're right. They did have a lot of success. I can't really bash them myself because their bracket was a lot better than mine. I probably should listen to them. I'm going to go over some of their good picks. I thought they had Michigan in the Sweet 16. I didn't see that happening. I had Michigan losing first round, I believe, to UC San Diego.
It was close. So
Yeah, I mean, I like Michigan. I thought they did really good in the Big Ten, but I just didn't see them going far. They also picked Ole Miss. I think they had them going to the Sweet 16. And then they also believed in Arizona when I didn't. So that's 3 good picks. Some of the bad picks, obviously, were High Point over Purdue.
I had that though.
I had
so
that
it's
too.
a
okay.
lot of people did have High Point
Yeah.
over
I
Purdue,
feel
which
like
I
that would have been a good
understand.
upset.
Oh,
It would have
that was
been.
probably
Any upset would be
like
good,
I
but I
think
would
that's
like
what a
that
lot of
one.
people chose to be like the upset was High Point
Yeah.
over Purdue.
I personally didn't choose that because I thought that Purdue, I don't think that great, but everyone doubted them, which I feel like makes them want
Yeah.
to play better. And
Right.
fair.
also, I don't think they're that bad. I think that they're not great, but
Right.
obviously they're good enough to be in the
I was just
tournament
gassing
so
them
far.
up a little bit ago, so I kind of be a hypocrite if I went back and be like, oh, they're not great. So
Yeah, and then one more bad, or not bad pick, but pick that they missed will be Gonzaga to the Elite Eight. I didn't go into the Final Four in my bracket, so I can't blame them. It wasn't a clean sweep. It was 3-1. Believe Cameron had them Gonzaga losing that game, so props to him. But everyone else was just in the same boat as me, falling for the Gonzaga trap. They've been in the Sweet 16 for how many straight years? We all saw that stat, and we kind of just rode with them no matter who they were playing, and obviously it didn't work out.
yeah, I also fell for the Gonzaga trap. I had them going pretty far. Now I'm looking at this right now, and I do want to say I do like where their head was at with a lot of these picks, because that's kind of where I was at as well. Obviously, like, I'm not going to flame them for the Clemson pick and having McNeese win over that. Everyone chose Clemson.
Yeah.
I will flame them for one pick, though. I don't know how they thought that Yale was going to beat Texas A&M in the first round.
I didn't see that one.
I did see that one, and I looked at it, and I was just like, really? Now, I mean, obviously, you got to pick some upsets in there. I mean, personally, for me, I had Grand Canyon beating Maryland, which was the worst pick I've ever made. But I don't think Yale was going to be the team to do it. Even if that was like the chosen upset, I don't think they were going to be the team to pull an upset. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be Montana. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. Which, I mean, I just saw Montana right here. But it was never going to be Yale. They kept the game close. I'll give them that. Yale kept the game close, but I don't think they were ever going to get that upset.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that everyone was really on the Lipscomb train.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone wanted Lipscomb to win. I mean, who didn't? But like, I think that it makes sense why they thought that Iowa State would lose. Like, I think that they're a good team, but they've definitely not been the best at the end of the season. But something that I think a lot of us didn't expect was Arkansas St. John's. Like, they didn't expect it either. They've St. John's winning over Arkansas, but I think didn't we all?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think they did pretty well. Like they did a lot
No,
better than I did.
I wasn't able to like, you know,
I was
pick.
expecting to be a lot worse.
Yeah, I'll pick on the Yale pick, but like I can understand where every other pick comes from. Obviously, a lot of picks age poorly, but that's every bracket.
Yeah.
I think I have a 30% completion. This is definitely better than that. So
yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
you know,
Yeah.
I can't flame them too much. They actually did pretty
Yeah,
well.
when I look at this, I do see a lot of green, which
It
is
is a
like
lot of
for
green.
mine is
Yeah.
a lot of red.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
can't
kind of
jealous.
did. I kind of went with more upsets than actual like logistics. I think a good pick they had, just by looking at it, they had Ole Miss like going far. I had
Mhm.
Ole Miss losing to North Carolina. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
did
why, because the North Carolina really showed like, yeah, we should not have been here.
Yeah, after the first four, though, I was like high on Carolina.
Right.
so-
Yeah, I was actually pretty heavy on North Carolina.
So I
My
think-
bad.
Yeah, they
Can't
have
relate.
them going. Who do they have? Did they have them beating Michigan State here or no? I can't
Do they
tell.
have what North Carolina being Michigan
No,
State?
Ole Miss.
Michigan
Ole
State.
Miss beating MSU.
Oh, they
Michigan
had Ole
State
Miss. They
winning.
held Ole Miss winning.
Okay,
So
so that's kind of. But I
but
think
against Michigan State, Michigan State goes over Ole Miss. Yeah.
you pick Ole Miss over Michigan State.
No, I'm picking Michigan State over Ole Miss.
I'm
Mhm.
picking I'm picking Ole Miss. I'm
Really?
going with an upset.
For women's, who's your final four for their bracket?
Oh, for women's.
Yes.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
I have UCLA. I think they're a great team. I think they're really strong, but I don't think that they're going to win, obviously. I think that I love their team, but they're not the strongest. I also have USC. I have like mostly one seeds, but in the women's game, that's really what occurs.
Mhm.
So UCLA, USC, and then the other one seeds are
UConn.
UConn's a 2 seed.
UConn's a 2 seed.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But
I don't know ball. I
have them losing
apologize.
to USC. The other 2 1 seeds. I'm blanking.
South Carolina, Texas.
South Carolina and Texas. I think
Oh,
I
they're
have
good.
South Carolina, and then I don't think I have Texas in there.
TCU.
No,
Ooh.
I don't like TCU.
No,
I
oh my
might-
God, I don't like that one player.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hopping up on the UConn train for women's.
Yes.
Very, very, very strong team, and I'm all for them. I mean, that's kind of the biggest I can get. I think your Final Four was pretty good. You know, admittedly, I wish I knew a little bit more about college women's basketball, but I don't. So I think I'm just gonna go with UConn for all 4 teams, and then UConn in the championship as both teams, and then UConn being the champion. So
I think Paige
that's what's
Beckers
gonna
needs her
happen.
ring.
That's what I feel like. I feel like I love Paige Beckers, but also Juju Watkins at,
Juju.
Oh yeah,
at USC.
actually,
I feel like
she's
that would,
crazy
Yeah, I have
good.
it up
She's
right
pretty
now,
good.
and it seems like one thing that's different. Well, I'm assuming there's a lot of things, but there are buys for this.
really?
Yeah, right?
Um,
Oh my God, no, I'm stupid. I'm really stupid. I'm really stupid. I'm so sorry. That's really stupid of me. But yeah, I don't really like TCU. I kind of don't like the players. I don't know. But there was an upset with no, there wasn't. I
There was
thought I
an
read
upset
it.
with Kentucky. Kentucky,
Yes.
Kansas State. I love Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kansas State pulled it out in overtime. At one point, lost for Kentucky. I love Georgia Amore, but it was her 5th year. She was at Kentucky. It was a transfer from Virginia Tech with
Mhm.
her coach. Great 5 years, but
I'm actually excited to see what Notre Dame does. One of their players, I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys know her, Hannah Hidalgo. She actually went to a high school that's like 15 minutes away from me. So it's kind of like my claim to fame because I'm like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And my friend was actually my close friend. She like knew her. So I'm excited to see how she does. But that's all that we have for you guys today on 360 Sports. I'm Izzy Mackey alongside Aiden Flory, Aaron Wilder, and Chase Brosen. Tune in tomorrow to watch the Frenzy Show.